Everybody hates this system. You know, the man, the machine, the strict rules, regulations, and expectations that almost everyone lives their lives by. It's enough to make you want to scream. But luckily, there are plenty of people out there who have found ingenious workarounds that circumvent these rules. From taking free Photoshop requests literally to finding ways to sneak forbidden snacks into the cinema, it's time to take a look at even more genius people who beat the system. NASCAR, the ultimate American stock car sport. Drivers complete several hundred laps at speeds of more than 200 miles per hour around a closed-off track, scoring points depending on what position they finish in. If they were any more fast and furious, Vin Diesel would be out there pulling off a heist of some sort. But what NASCAR driver Ross Chastain achieved on the track back in October 2022 blew all of Vin's imaginary escapades out of the water. In the final turn of a 500-lap race, Ross, who was in 10th place, decided to try something truly mad: wall riding. Now, fans of the video game NASCAR 2005 for the Nintendo GameCube might recognize this maneuver. It's where you accelerate to full speed and rely on the wall to steer you around the track. Damage to the car be damned. In a video game, this is fine. In real life, though, physics don't work like that without some real damage. Nevertheless, putting all his faith in video game physics he learned when he was 8 years old, Ross hit the gas and plowed into the wall like a rocket. But instead of crashing, he shot from 10th position to 5th. Not only did this secure his team a place in the NASCAR Championship final, but he also set the record for the fastest lap ever recorded at the Martinsville Speedway. Man, not even Vin Diesel's most insane stunt could beat that. There are so many content creators and streamers out there these days, it's hard to tell a lot of them apart. But there's one whose trademark deadpan tone and cutting wit is utterly unique: Moist Critical. Also known as Charlie, Critical, or Penguin ZO, this gaming and variety streamer has become pretty synonymous with white t-shirts, long brown hair, and scathingly sarcastic commentary.
It's been a while since I've read the manga, but goddamn, the Bible is nuts.
But back in March 2022, he faced a dilemma. He was invited to the Streamer Awards, but was unable to make the event. Now, usually in situations like this, you just send someone else to accept the award in your stead. But let's be honest, seeing someone else accept an award for the person you were rooting for is never satisfying. However, Charlie had a plan. He sent 2 reps from the Moistverse, Joel Haver and Kevin Amarillo, who impersonated him for the entire evening, right down to the comedic commentary.
It feels like GTA 6 just got announced, but it didn't, and I'm just so excited.
It was easily the most entertaining appearance of the entire ceremony. So even though Charlie wasn't there, he left no one disappointed. To make it even better, Charlie won in his category, and the acceptance speech was something else.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for this. I want to thank the Moist Critical team, Charlie, and Charlie.
And with that, Charlie, without even being there, stole the entire show. Remember the COVID pandemic that hit us a while back? Precious memories. Now, being an airborne virus, one of the main ways people could prevent becoming infected, or infecting others, was by wearing face masks. As such, wearing one became a requirement for entry to most indoor public places. And people generally took this in stride, while others misunderstood the assignment, shall we say. I mean, to this woman's credit, they didn't specify what type of mask. But for all the hilarity, masks caused a lot of debate. Some people staunchly refused to wear them, arguing everything from it infringing on their human rights to conspiracy theories that the virus didn't actually exist. But back in August 2021, while America was struggling to curtail the spread of the virus, reporting more than 100,000 new cases each day on average, Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott put a ban on mask mandates. This meant throughout Texas, masks would be optional, and wearing them could not be legally enforced. This ruling correlated to a huge spike in COVID cases, with the entire state jumping from around 3 to 4 million reported infections in a little over 2 months. But one school district found a way to circumvent the ruling to keep their staff and students safe: the dress code. The Paris Independent School District amended their dress code to include masks for all students and employees, fully aware the governor's orders didn't have any impact on Texas's education code. So, unless he appealed to the school district board of trustees, Abbott couldn't do a thing to stop them using this perfect little loophole. Ironically, the change was officially made a day after Governor Abbott tested positive for COVID, following his attendance at a maskless public event. Gee, who could have seen that coming? No, stop typing in the comment section. That was sarcasm, heavy sarcasm. Speaking of dress codes, some teachers can get real wound up about them. One Reddit user by the name of Tandy Angie recalled a time when her friend got into a dress code conundrum. She was told by the junior high school principal that she couldn't wear her tank top, even though she had a long-sleeved shirt underneath it, because tank tops were against the dress code. Unfortunately, the long-sleeved shirt was ever so slightly see-through. And so, even though her entire top half was covered, she couldn't wear one without the other and was sent home. This ridiculous nitpicking set Angie off, and she decided to show the school up by following each dress code rule to the letter to make a point. She started small with a rule stating no open-toe sandals. Instead, she wore open-toed heels, and because it wasn't a sandal, the principal couldn't do anything. Getting away with that, she moved on to shirts, which had to be tucked into pants. So she wore a skirt and had the shirt hanging out of it, because there were no pants to tuck into. Checkmate. No tank tops allowed, but there was nothing in the rules about tank dresses. No Crocs? Well, guess what? There are other rubber shoe brands that exist. No shirts with logos or print, only patterns and consistent designs. But what if the print was a part of a consistent design? Big bite me energy there. No costumes allowed, but Angie clarified that the school defined a costume as something worn only for a few hours. So, for entire days at a time, Angie would dress up as a lawyer, a clown, a hippie, Abraham Lincoln, and the principal couldn't say anything. Exasperated, and with her point well made, the principal took Angie's point and changed the rules of the dress code so kids caught violating the rules were just written up instead of being sent home. Power Complex Principle 0, Kids with Limitless Creativity 1. While rules vary from screen to screen, a lot of cinema chains in America ban any outside food or drinks from their premises in order to make money on the snacks they sell. While we've all snuck snacks into the cinema in our pockets or bags, back in 2016, Snapchat user Priscilla found a wacky workaround. She and her friends had a craving for watermelon, but seeing how the cinema didn't sell it, she had to find a way to sneak it in. And that's when they were hit with a stroke of genius. They cut a few melons in half and strapped them to their bellies with some duct tape before covering up and walking into the cinema like a group of pregnant pals. The staff didn't suspect a thing, and when the lights went down, they could enjoy their fruity snacks in peace. The only problem was there were no trash cans in the cinema, so they had to leave the rinds behind, which one of the poor workers who had to clean them up then took a picture of and uploaded to Twitter. Despite the mess, this melon move went viral, inspiring many others to do the same, and it seems to have worked. Personally, I think I'll be sticking to popcorn, but you do you, girls. There are some workarounds that, while genius, are somewhat frowned upon, which explains why they're posted by anonymous users through Twitter accounts such as Fesshole. It's a sort of confession booth, but for internet goblins like me. For example, one user admitted that he'd bought a gym membership, but not for the purpose of working out. Instead, he used the convenient gym location to park his car, allowing him to walk into work. which was located only a few minutes from the gym, and to his favorite bar, all without having to pay for any extortionate parking fees. Living the dream. Another Fesshole original comes from a British guy who was looking to rent a garage for some extra storage space. The landlord of the property wasn't great and really rubbed our man the wrong way. After inspecting the space, he noticed a really small leak in the corner.
The landlord told him it was nothing to worry about, and was so confident that he even said if it got any worse, he'd knock £40, about $50 off the rental price per month.
Seemed like a good deal, so our guy took the garage. However, once he had the keys, he stealthily went back and poured out a 5-liter bottle of water where he'd noticed the leak springing from, before calling the landlord to tell him that it had, in fact, gotten worse. True to his word, the landlord had dropped the price, and our man was £40 a month richer. Not for nothing, but these two kinda sound like they deserve each other. Our final Fesshole submission revolves around one of my favorite topics of contention: pay rises. Currently, all around the world, prices of everyday goods are increasing. The cost of living is getting more expensive, and some workers are finding that their salaries aren't rising in line with these increases. As such, one worker decided to take matters into his own hands. His workplace relied on an anonymous online feedback form for all staff concerns and complaints. One day, using a VPN, or virtual private network, he submitted a series of these feedback forms, changing the location and data with each one, making it look like lots of different employees were submitting them, not just him. He raised questions about the cost of living and low salaries, and how people simply wouldn't be able to afford to work at this company unless significant pay changes were made. A few weeks later, during their pay reviews, everyone got a much bigger uplift than expected. People were stunned at the drastic increase to their salaries, as no one had said anything. Well, all except one guy. But hey, what the boss doesn't know won't hurt them much. When I was a kid, my mom used to tell me to stop watching TV, get off my consoles, and go outside to play. Like an idiot, I put down my controller and reluctantly got my dose of vitamin D. And what makes me an idiot here? Well, if I'd had the smarts of this kid, I could have had the best of both worlds. Technically, he is playing outside. Look out, with that logic, we might have a future president on our hands. Have you ever worked somewhere that's had a strict uniform code? Like, you must wear black shoes, or shirt and tie are essential. Man, I hated working in places like that, which is why I'm now a YouTuber.
Trust me, there's not a shirt, tie, or even pants on this side of the microphone.
Unfortunately, not everyone has this luxury, as Reddit user Indoor Noob's daughter knows all too well. She worked a job that only allowed employees to wear plain black pants. However, one day her regular work pants were in the washer, and the only black pants she had available had 2 huge rips in the knees. So, thinking quick, she used a marker to black out both her knees, popped the pants on, and voila, uniform code violation avoided. There's something about the way the Brits enjoy a day at the races that differs from a lot of other places around the world. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, it's the booze. It's always the booze. What starts off as a day of nice hats and betting frenzies almost always ends in drunken carnage. But not everyone is willing to pay for expensive racecourse beverages, and they resort to trying to sneak booze in however they can. Over at the Southwell races back in 2017, someone had the bright idea to hide their bottle of vodka inside a giant sub. Sadly, this was sniffed out by security and posted up on Twitter by the racecourse's social media team, bragging, "You hide it, we find it." But the problem with bragging is that you're never as good as you think you are. Because someone replied with this picture showing a plastic bottle of booze duct taped to someone's thigh, hidden under a dress with the message, "Better luck next time." Seeing how security checks are getting wiser to how people hide their booze, it looks like it's time to start stowing it in the last place they'll think to look: in plain sight.
Do you maybe remember in part 3 of this series when we saw one genius who got away with bringing a huge flask of booze to their prom, with it disguised as a giant silver purse?
Well, I found the perfect accessory for this outfit. A bangle. And not just any bangle. One that's huge, hollow, and can be filled with any beverage you want. And it comes in a range of colors to match every outfit. Security will never suspect a thing. But if you're looking for a more natural solution, one company has found a way to make your assets even more of, well, an asset. Resembling an enhancing bra, the wine rack has been designed to hold 25 ounces of booze in the silicone padding of the garment, with an easily concealed drinking tube. The entire thing then fits on underneath a shirt of your choice. And look at that. Nobody's gonna know. Raking up leaves from my driveway has got to be one of my least favorite household chores. No matter what technique you use, it always takes ages. And regardless of how thorough you are, at least 1 or 2 leaves always manages to escape. Oh, so frustrating. But it turns out, I could have been working smarter, not harder, like these street cleaners. Instead of combing the leaves into piles and collecting them later, they just hop on the back of their truck, hold their rakes out, and drive the truck forward, catching 99% of the leaves in their wake with 1% of the effort. I've never been so impressed or felt so stupid in my entire life. Do you hate yard work? Because I hate yard work. Hate with a capital H. My toothpick arms were not made for manual labor. You know whose tree trunk-sized arms are, though? Stephen McGranahan's, a man also known as the world's strongest redneck. Even though this guy is like 20 times as strong as me, we have a mutual hatred for wasting time trimming and shaping hedges. Luckily, Stephen has found a god-tier workaround. Why use handheld shears or electric trimmers to level your hedges when you can just tape a lawnmower to a stick? If that's not redneck engineering at its finest, I don't know what is. Actually, wait, I do, because I definitely don't have the upper body strength to be able to lift my lawnmower like that, so I'll just have to use it to cut my grass like a dork. Here's the thing. Someone on my level found a way to put your cordless, power-assisted lawnmower on automatic mode with nothing more than a string and a pole. My God, it's nature's Roomba. Admittedly, autonomous mowers do exist, but these usually cost hundreds of dollars, whereas some rope and a pole is a heck of a lot cheaper. Although sometimes, if you want your yard cut beyond the shape of a circle, you have to mow the yard yourself. But who says you have to expend precious energy walking behind your mower? Certainly not Sierra Brazil's father, who figured he could rig up an additional set of wheels and a plank to his power-assisted mower, enabling him to ride it chariot style around the yard. Well, if only ancient chariot-riding Romans could see us now. If the ancient Romans could see us now, though, they'd probably try and argue that we're not related if they saw this. Yep, that's a woman wheeling her child around while perched on the back of a Segway, a two-wheeled, self-balancing transporter, meaning that no one here needs to walk at all. Considering how exhausting looking after kids is, this workaround saves energy for everyone involved. Pretty smart. Let's hope this logic runs, or rolls, in the family. But when it comes to finding balance, this next guy has it nailed. Yep, you're looking at a man grocery shopping, but instead of walking, he's using a hoverboard Segway to wheel himself and his groceries around the store. Now, initially I thought he'd maybe ridden the board to the store, so was just getting a little extra mileage out of it by using it inside. But here's the thing. That's a massive cartload of groceries, way more than he'd ever be able to carry home, even on the board. That means this guy drove to the store, got out the hoverboard, wheeled into and around the store getting groceries, before wheeling it back out to his car and driving home. Man, this guy's one step away from replacing his legs with wheels. Now, have you ever been asked to do a small but super inconvenient task? Like clean the top of a really high cupboard or sweep the stairs. The awkward angles make tasks like this super annoying. Luckily, one attendant who was asked to clean the sides of the escalators figured out a foolproof way to keep them spotless. Just ride the thing down, cloth in hand, and let the escalator do the work. Clearly, escalator maintenance guys all over the world are on this level, because over in the Shanghai Museum, someone spotted this insanely efficient worker completing 2 tasks in one journey by cleaning the outside and inside of the escalator glass while riding it down. Well, it's clear to see who the genius is here. I admit it. I'm guilty of forgetting more than once, or twice, or 48 times to do the dishes. Okay, I'm also guilty of lying. I don't forget, I just really, really don't want to do them. So, maybe next time I'm running low on bowls, I should take a leaf out of this next genius's book. Instead of cleaning a plate of food off, which I'll then inevitably have to clean again, I could just make a bowl out of tinfoil and throw it away after. Alright, but what if I'm thirsty and there are no cups? Well, an empty foil-lined cupcake casing apparently does the trick just fine. So you're free to dunk your cookies and drink your milk without the kitchen sink calling your name. Although, I can't help but feel like this is a pretty huge waste of materials over some milk and cereal. What do you reckon? Is it worth it? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, I'm a fan of a beer or 2, or 5, but no matter how much I drink, I can never seem to remember where my bottle opener is, and usually spend more time searching for the blasted thing than I do drinking. Clearly, there's one thing I need. A dog. Not to fetch my beers, but to do what this smart cookie did, and attach a bottle opener to the dog's collar. My dog days of searching endlessly for the opener are over. All I have to do is whistle, and my bottle opener will come to me. At this point in time, more than 100 countries across the globe have a freedom of information legislation written into their laws. Here, citizens can request any information held by government bodies or public authorities. And one German student cleverly figured he might be able to use this to his advantage. The 17-year-old sent a request to the Public Education Ministry for the answers to a series of test questions. Not of the tests that had been, but the ones in his upcoming Abitur exams. Technically, the government couldn't refuse him thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. However, his request was turned down as it would have significantly impacted the success of an upcoming administrative measure. That is to say, they had a backup plan that allowed them to say no. So close. Now, I'm no Scrooge, but there's one thing I really hate about Christmas. The cleanup. It's at least a whole day of taking out all the trash, tidying up, and cleaning all the dishes. Not to mention taking down all the decorations. Ugh, it never ends. But while we were all busy putting away the baubles and tinsel one by one, whoever packed away this tree was working on another level. Apparently, his wife asked him to pack the tree away the year before, and when she went down to the basement the following year, this is what she found. Using a roll of plastic wrap, he'd secured all the decorations and lights in place, so all they needed to do was unwrap, plug in, and voila. Instant Christmas, no assembly required. Now, I've spoken about this next genius a few times before, but his work just keeps getting better and more literal with time. Photoshop master James Friedman is a graphic designer who'd found a way to turn annoying free Photoshop requests into comedy gold. Periodically, people will message James asking for him to edit their pictures for free. But free edits don't pay the bills, so James makes the edits, but takes the requests literally and posts the results online for all to see. For example, one Twitter user asked James to make her and her friend the same height, which he technically did by replacing her neck and torso with her own head. In another message, a girl asked if he could make her boyfriend's face a little smaller, but instead of shaving down his jawline, he shrunk his facial features down. And Here, in my personal favorite example, this guy asked James to make the waterfall bigger and closer in this picture. James obliged by putting the waterfall practically on top of him. You can find more of James's work over on his website, jamesfridman.com. Trust me, you'll spend hours laughing on there. Now we're gradually moving towards a completely cashless society, with the majority of markets on track to be functionally cashless by 2030. Which begs the question, without cash, how am I meant to use one of these pains in the butt? These kinds of carts are pretty common in the UK, utilizing a locking mechanism that requires a coin to release the cart, or trolleys, as the Brits call them. This is meant to ensure that you return your trolley to a bay where the key of another trolley will allow you to retrieve your money. Pretty ingenious way to stop people leaving trolleys all over the place. But what if you don't have a coin? Luckily, someone discovered a loophole. Rounded keys have the same dimensions as some standard coins, and can be used in place of a coin if you're caught short. Nice. Just don't forget to return your cart if you use this workaround, otherwise you'll have way more issues than a missing coin. Now, which of these geniuses did you think best beat the system? And who really stuck it to the man? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.